Senator Kerrey.
Well, first of all, let me say, Matt, I think this is a situation very much like Secretary Lemon just said, where at the local level, there was people responded with great heroism and took action that was appropriate under the circumstances, way beyond what most of us would have been able to do, including being able to get 4,500 airplanes out of the air without a single incident. So New York, Boston, Cleveland, the ones that we've looked at, you guys did a fabulous job. But I'm with Secretary Lehman, Mr. Belger, and I think headquarters blew it. And I appreciate that Garvey is one with the responsibility, but as I understand it, she delegates significant authority to you as a 30-year career professional. So I'm going to turn my attention to you if you want to disabuse me of that notion in answering the first question. The first question is, following up on Senator Gordon, having to do with this conversation that occurred, the teleconference that NMCC initiated. How in God's name could you put somebody on the telephone who joined the call with no familiarity or responsibility for a hijacked situation, had no access to decision makers, and had none of the information available to senior FAA officials at that time? What the hell's going on that you would do such a thing? And don't blame that on me. Who did that? Who put somebody on the phone that was not able to participate, but not able to tell at a very late date, I must say, the military what was going on?
I don't know. I don't know, as I said, who the NMCC tried to call. What I will say...
No, that's not the question. Somebody joined the call.
The NMCC call.
No, an FAA representative joined the call who knew nothing, had no responsibility for hijack situation, had no access to decision makers, and none of the information available to senior FAA officials.
It is my understanding that was an NMCC call that they're referring to.
Yes, but why did you put somebody on the phone that knew nothing?
I didn't put anybody on that phone call.
Who did?
I don't know. That's what I said, sir.
Well,
now, I will tell you, though, this is very, very important in response to your question. The NMC, and this is an assumption on my part, I'll say that right up front, because I said earlier I did not specifically ask this question. One of the millions of questions I wish I would have asked this morning, but I didn't. At 9:20, the NMCC was called. They were added to this open communication net. In my 30 years of history, there was always somebody listening to that net.
well,
Real-time information.
let me move to
that was the purpose of it.
let me move to my second one then, Mr. Belger. Now, I'm not going to have very many to get. I mean, I got a long list here that I could do. I'm not going to get them in 5 minutes. Let's talk about 93. Wheels up at 8:42. At 9:28, Cleveland confirms a hijack. You know it at 9:34. Now we have this conversation at 9:49, 13 minutes afterwards, where Cleveland initially had said, "Are you going to put planes in the air?" And somebody at headquarters should do something about it. They called back. And I presume you've seen the staff statement where they replay the conversation. Command center, we want to think about scrambling aircraft. Command center says, FAA headquarters says, oh God, I don't know. Command center, that's a decision somebody's going to have to make the next 10 minutes. FAA headquarters, everybody just left the room. I mean, do we have this out of context? I mean, there was no information delivered to the military that a plane was coming into Washington, D.C. And again, thank God the passengers of 93 took the plane over. But a plane was heading to Washington, D.C. FAA headquarters knew it and didn't let the military know.
Well, if I can, and I truly do not mean this to be defensive, but it is a fact. There were military people on duty at the FAA Command Center, as Mr. Sliney said. They were participating in what was going on. There were military people in the FAA's air traffic organization in a situation room. They were participating in what was going on. To my knowledge, the NMCC was added to the conference call, the open conference call, at 9:20. By 9:45 or so, my attention was completely on getting the airplanes and the hundreds of thousands of passengers safely on the ground. There was an FAA security person running the hijack net. I had confidence that they were doing the right things.
Well, let me move on to my third one. And it deals not something that you've said, but actually this Administrator Garvey was much more vocal about this. We were watching for something happening overseas. Let me deal into that a little bit. Bajinka happens in 95. FAA sent somebody over to Manila. Are you familiar with that? Are you familiar with the FAA sending a representative over to Manila?
Yes.
And what did they come back and say? What did that person report after going over to Manila and finding out that a member of Al-Qaeda was going to hijack 12 American airplanes in a suicide fashion? I've got to get both words in here because you all say, geez, I didn't think they could commit suicide. There were 10 attacks by Al-Qaeda against the United States from 1992 to 2001, and 9 of them were suicide. We knew by then that bin Laden was going to come after the United States. So what did the guy report when he came back in 1995? What did he tell you? And what was your response to it?
Well, my recollection, and I do not have specific recollection of what was said, but my general recollection was that the threat at that time, and continued up through September 11, was really directed outside the borders of the United States.
In 1998, after the East African Embassy bombing, Mr. Belger, it was in the newspaper that the United States of America federal government arrested 2 suspects that were in the United States. One in California, one in Texas. Why would you reach that conclusion, that they were only going to attack outside the United States?
The conclusion I reached, sir, was based on the intelligence information that was given to me. I mean, I can't be any more...
I'm talking about stuff that's
clear.
reported in the newspaper. That doesn't come from CIA. That's right out of the darn newspaper.
Hopefully, I don't know, sir. I don't remember reading that.
You're in
personally.
luck. My time has expired.